a little bit of what we didn't quite fully get to finish this one time. Dreams. Very, very briefly. I don't want to get right into it, but there's a few things that I didn't have the time to address. Now, how to see ghosts using infrasound. We'll see how this one goes.
In a moment, you will...
All-seeing eye, folks. We could be deep into big trouble here. I'm not sure.
hear a frequency which is known to cause... In a moment, you will hear a frequency which is known to cause paranormal experiences. Can you hear it?
Now, as you know, lately, I've been talking about dreams a lot. Fixated on dreams. Did you know that when you dream, you secrete DMT once you go into the state of REM, aka rapid eye movements? During this time, you are detached from your actual self, your body, you know? This is what it is. Long story short, anyways, people are starting to see ghosts using infrasound, right? Infrasound. Infrasound can be used in the field of dream monitoring and stuff like this. Crazy stuff, guys. We'll get into it a little bit tonight. We did a whole show on it, so I'm not going to go on the double deep dive, but I just want to show you this clip.
Well, you can't. That's just what's so terrifying about it. Base.
Engine meant to induce sympathetic vibrations in buildings. Allegedly, in 1898, he almost destroyed his Manhattan laboratory by attaching the device to one of the support beams in the building, and in 1935, he insinuated to a reporter that he could use the device to destroy the Empire State Building. Vibration will do anything. It would only be necessary to step up the vibrations of the machine to fit the natural vibration of the building, and the building would come crashing down. That's why soldiers break step crossing a bridge. Tesla's referring to 19th century soldiers' nasty habit of destroying suspension bridges, like the Angers Bridge on the 16th of April, 1950. The regular vibrations caused by the steps of marching soldiers match the natural frequency of vibration of the bridge itself. This is roughly what happens when somebody sings and breaks a wine glass. They're able to match the wine glass's natural frequency of vibration, and at high enough volumes, the wine glass breaks. The natural frequency of vibration of the E string on a guitar is, well, it's an E. If I pluck an E an octave higher on the A string, you'll still be able to hear an E ring out on the E string. This E string is ringing in sympathy with the note that I just plucked. But if I play another note, say an E flat, for example, the E string won't ring out. Now, if you hold down the damper pedal and talk directly into the body of a grand piano, you can induce mechanical resonance using nothing but your voice, creating a haunting reverb effect. Now, you don't necessarily need to use strings for this mechanical resonance. You can use basically anything. Bridges, buildings, and yes, wine glasses all have a natural frequency of vibration. Everything has a natural frequency of vibration, including you. Mechanical Resonant Frequency of the Human Eye in Vivo is a paper published by the Air Force in 1976. It was determined that the resonant frequency of the human eyeball was about 18 hertz. 18 hertz is roughly the note D. Our eyes vibrate in the key of D. And when our eyes vibrate independently of our skulls, weird things start to happen. Researcher Vic Tandy had a series of paranormal experiences where he would see faint objects scurry about at the periphery of his vision. He traced these experiences to a vibrating fan in the ventilation system of his lab. The fan's frequency was measured at about 18 hertz, the resonant frequency of the eye. This just so happened to coincide with the eigentone, or the resonant frequency of the room itself. This amplified the frequency of the fan and the effects on the eyeball. When the fan was stopped, the frequency disappeared and the paranormal sightings stopped as well. So basically, the ghosts were caused by sound. Because 18 hertz causes our eyeballs to vibrate, it interferes with visual transduction and...
This was the overlap. Obviously, we're looking into infrasound, its impacts on people that are dreaming and MK Ultra stuff, and it's just a little bonus sort of thing. I really want to watch this. I was buzzing to watch this. That's what I'm saying. So this was the thing I was looking forward to today the most.
The eyes themselves. Ocular resonance would cause false firings of photoreceptors in the retina, in theory, causing us to see things that just aren't there. A similar thing happens...
That aren't there. That's what really upsets me and disappoints me. They are there. It's just that we are now plugged into a different channel. That's what it is. There are infinite things happening around me right now. I just don't have the equipment to see them because God has protected me with this sensory scenario I'm in. There's a veil there designed to protect all of us from this shit. Some of us are silly and want to smoke some DMT and rip through and that, you know? But that's what it is, you know?
Is when you rub your eyes very hard, you see phosphenes, which are essentially bright lights across your field of vision. This particular frequency, the ghost frequency, which in theory causes your eyes to vibrate, occurs as infrasound, sound that occurs below 20 hertz, the lowest note that we can possibly hear.
Go high enough, guess what happens? Pop. Yeah, you can vibrate people's eyes into little explosions. Yeah, nice stuff.
But just because your ears don't register a sound as having pitch doesn't mean it won't affect your body. It can still cause hearing damage at high decibels.
Oh, yeah.
Generated.
Now, that is a can of worms, Ian. He just said, Ian said, you can taste colours. You can. I'm not saying you can and I can, but people have. People also do maths in shapes. Yeah. Math, shapes, head. That should do. The Occidental genius, there he is, this fella. He got a brain injury and he basically, like, MK'd himself in the head with a shovel, like this new mind control. It's like a superpower thing, yeah? Got hit over the head with something, ended up becoming a fucking... Basically, Michael Aquino's boss, you know what I'm saying? No jokes aside that this dude is on some next level shit. We'll have this next, all right? We'll have this next. This was meant to be... one second. This here that we're watching, this was meant to be the one, but we've got one more after, so banging.
From wind turbines and industrial equipment is the cause of vibroacoustic syndrome, a degenerative disease with a wide host of terrible symptoms. Infrasound is, of course, also where the alleged brown note lies.
Whoa! No way.
But ghosts can infrasound...
A brown note. You know, when the Pharisees want to smell your ass, they just pull out a little flute and start playing tunes. Before you know it, everyone's got diarrhea.
really trigger a paranormal...
If you hear a dreidel spinning and you feel the diarrhea, just know that the Jew is near.
experience through ocular resonance. So let's find out. I have here a subwoofer that's able to recreate that 18 hertz frequency. When I turn it on, you might not be able to actually hear anything, but this microphone that I'm recording into can. You can clearly see the 18 hertz rumble underneath the frequencies of my speaking voice. I'm now going to sit here for 10 minutes and then report back on any experience that I might have. I can already tell you that even though I can't actually hear the sound, the sensation is kind of like this weirdly heavy physical one. It's kind of hard to really describe, but I'll check back in 10 minutes.
What he's describing there is a CIA torture tactic where you inundate people with these frequencies and it makes people feel extremely uncomfortable. They can't hear it, they can't feel it, they can't touch it, they can't smell it. It's not in the five senses, but it is fucking with you in that sixth sense kind of way.
So I didn't see any ghosts for sure. But
And by the way, shout out to Scoob. The other day, brother, Plasma brought it up and we spoke about that. The Tritone. No, it was Spy Hunter, not Plasma. It was Spy Hunter the other day. The Tritone. The Devils. No, we showed a little clip of it, but yeah, we could show it again.
But let me see. Yeah, that's a huge relief. I mean, it's very anxiety inducing. It's like a sensation of like somebody is just like sort of pressing on your body here. You can't hear it, but there's definitely a sense that like something is wrong. Something's terribly, terribly wrong. I wasn't really a skeptic. I knew something would happen, but it was really something else for me to actually feel that. You know, maybe it's not like ghost inducing or whatever, but there is something there, and I wonder if infrasound has a place in music. Other people have wondered this too. In 2003, there was a study conducted during 2 concerts at...
How you doing? We've got No One Likes Us. No one likes us. No one likes us. No one likes us. We don't care. How do you do, mate? He says, how long have you been live? An hour and 55. That's how long exactly, and 32 seconds. We're having a bit of a shorter show today. We started later than expected. Was having a different show with guests on earlier, but we couldn't. We spent about an hour trying to do it behind the scenes, and we just couldn't. So we had to recalibrate, and that's why we're here doing this. But we're on for about another half hour, I'd say, maybe 40 minutes or something like that. But yeah, we're doing it. We're doing it live, folks. We're doing it live.
Royal Festival Hall in London. There are two pieces on the program that had infrasound piped through the auditorium, and two pieces that did not have infrasound. The results of a survey conducted on audience members after the concert suggests a definite correlation between infrasound and a vague sense of impending doom. This brings up some interesting questions for us, as well as some possibilities. Is there a way for musicians and composers to exploit infrasound for emotional and artistic effect, even if we can't hear it? And, if we can't hear it in any meaningful way, is it still part of the music? These are important questions to ask, but it's unfortunately fairly difficult to create true infrasound, especially using acoustic instruments. But there are a couple of ways of creating a sort of fake infrasound. If I play two tones at the same...
Yeah, I don't want to hear about fake infrasounds. I want real infrasounds. All right, the missing fundamental effect. Let's see what this is.
The missing fundamental effect. Our brains are super used to hearing a specific sequence of upper harmonics when you're listening back to notes in a melody. These harmonics are the same for everything in nature. It's the harmonic series. They're so used to the harmonic series, in fact, that if you take away the fundamental frequency of a given note, the note that we're actually hearing is a pitch, you can still hear the melody just as clearly. Your brain provides the fundamental for you. In other words, taking away the fundamental tone doesn't affect your pitch perception. So what if that fundamental was infrasound, say 18 hertz, the ghost frequency? Would we still be able to experience it due to the missing fundamental effect? Well, sort of. I mean, right now you're listening to the upper harmonics of 18 hertz, and it's kind of hard to tell what the fundamental is supposed to be. It does sound kind of spooky, though. I mean, not enough to induce ocular resonance or anything like that, but it's as good a jumping off point as any to start if we want to actually make music with any of this stuff. Let's take a scale tuned to the upper harmonics of 18 hertz, the ghost frequency. This would mean simply taking multiples of 18 and assigning each multiple of 18.
Right, 72. Now 18 hertz is 6 hertz, 6 hertz, and 6 hertz. You know what I'm saying? 72 hertz, well, that's 66 plus 6 hertz. Just saying.
Of this stuff. Let's take a scale tuned to the upper harmonics of 18 hertz, the ghost frequency. This would mean simply taking multiples of 18 and assigning each multiple of 18 to a different key on the keyboard. This creates a microtonal scale that gets smaller and smaller as you go higher, because the ratios between pitches get smaller the more you add, the distances between pitches get smaller as well. It creates a microtonal scale that behaves quite differently to other scales. I worked out a bass line that centered around the note F sharp, which has a 5-to-4 relationship back to the fundamental D, the ghost frequency. As a bass player, I know all too well the importance and ubiquity of the root fifth bass line, but I couldn't do that here. C sharp is the fifth of F sharp, and there's no C sharp low enough in the harmonic series of a D for me to use for a root fifth bass line. Instead, I had to settle for a fairly flat C natural, which has a 7-to-4 relationship back to D. This forms a tritone, not a perfect fifth of my F sharp root, so the limitations of the scale itself forced me into a fairly devilish root tritone bass line. There are more options for melodies, however, because as you go higher and higher in the scale, there are more notes to choose from, which means that if I wanted to create tension in my melody, I could use complex harmonic ratios, and then I could resolve that to less complex harmonic ratios that we're more used to. I applied these ideas of a limited bass line and expanded melodic palette to an 8-bit sort of tune, since I found that the odd tuning of the scale itself worked really nicely to evoke the sound of kind of like an out-of-tune computer chip. Working on this tune was really fun for me, because even though I use a really logical system to construct the scale, I don't have years of experience with it. I have no experience with it. Because of the odd keyboard layout, I found myself not really thinking about notes, but more like the ratios between notes.
Hey, thank you to Plasma. He says, watch this in your own time, mate, but I gave a physics lecture on the same topic. Based, giving physics lectures. Here I am, you know what I mean? I'm doing my best. But it ain't physics lectures.
Notes, which was kind of a cool way of working. But honestly, at the end of the day, I did what anybody does. I used my ear, to the best of my ability, to create music.
Very cool. Enjoyed that. That was a good video. I mean, don't get me wrong. I was hoping to go heavier on the ghost, to be honest. But still, you know what I mean? He's a bit normy. He wants to cope. He's like, you see things that aren't there. It's all right, dude. Go on. Keep coping. Keep doing what you think is best. Whatever makes you sleep at night. You know what I mean?